And good afternoon, everyone. In this month's segment of Musts, we talk about spirituality in the workplace and how inclusive can we go. Our guest for this segment is a past president of our beloved PMAC, and with close to 30 years of experience as an HR leader, she continues to develop her passion around people leadership, culture transformation, and talent revolution. As the regional HR director for Asia Pacific at Dexcom, she is on a journey to build a thriving organization through people who are inspired by a purpose to make others live their best lives. Purpose, passion, and reason are the three things that keep her awake at night. Let us all welcome Miss Michelle Cordero Garcia.
Hi, Joan. Good afternoon, everybody. Magandang hapon po sa lahat ng P-Mappers. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us, Miss Michelle.
My pleasure.
Yeah. In this episode, no, we zoom in on spirituality in the workplace. But before
Mhm.
we go there,
Yep.
can you share with us first about Dexcom and how diverse are you as a company?
Dexcom is a US-based organization now becoming global. We are actually into a glucose monitoring technology. We are a
Mhm.
biotech medical device manufacturing company. Our mission as an organization is to empower people with diabetes to live their better lives. So that is our organization. And I would say we're very, very diverse in the
Mhm.
sense that, we give respect to everybody's background and we don't um, bias or discriminate people based on their own preferences. We work as one team, we work as one organization, focusing on everybody's strengths and how they can contribute to the team.
That's very good to hear. So a
Mm-hmm.
while ago in the topic earlier, they talked about the differences between spirituality and
Mm,
religiosity, and
yes.
that I'm sure, like in any company, there are many different religions, many different beliefs.
Yep.
Now, for Dexcom, given that people or your associates come from different backgrounds, no, does this difference in belief affect employee interactions in any way?
Um, Affect in the sense na I would say very positive because people celebrate
Mm-hmm.
diversity at Dexcom. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the more different we are from one another, the better because we do
Mm-hmm.
recognize the importance of everybody's unique background and how they can contribute to the organization. But in terms of, asking people about what your religious background, what is your ethnicity and things like that, we don't talk about it. In fact, even in our
Mm-hmm.
application forms or even in our systems, we don't ask about it because for us, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't
Right.
matter whatever is your background, whatever is your religious preference. It's okay
Mm-hmm.
for as long as you contribute to the purpose of the organization, you do the right
Mm-hmm.
things, and you respect
Okay.
one another. Then we're all good.
Right. You know, in a lot of organizations as well, no, 'di ba? Spirituality is part of the different dimensions of
Yeah.
wellness, along with
Mm-hmm.
physical, mental, 'di ba? Emotional. No, does Dexcom have programs to encourage spirituality?
We have a lot of programs, but we don't really call them like we have a spirituality in the workplace type of initiative. Now, if we
Uh-huh.
actually go and research about it, diba, workplace spirituality usually is defined as, having compassion towards others or experiencing a
Yeah.
mindful inner consciousness in the pursuit of
Uh-huh.
meaningful work. In simple terms, it's all about finding meaning. It's all about finding value and finding motivation in one's work beyond our
Mm-hmm.
salaries and beyond the performance that we do in the organization. Spirituality, I think, is all about people finding a sense of purpose, a sense of
Mm-hmm.
oneness and togetherness in an organization as a whole. So in our organization, Dexcom, we are very focused on our purpose. And that is, again, to empower our patients, take control of diabetes, and make sure that even they have the condition that they can still live their best lives. That mission that we have in the organization is our anchor at the moment. In fact, since the pandemic, syempre very emotional, di ba, Joan? Very challenging. People
Yeah.
are, ang dami nilang iniisip, and sometimes their family get affected. And, we've also
Right.
experienced that our employees are very much troubled and bothered by everything that's happening. But one thing that we keep on communicating inside the organization
Mm-hmm.
is how our work is actually giving meaning to every day that we live during this pandemic. How through the work that we do, we're able to actually help others. I remember in one of our parang welcome to our new employees last year, we talked about unconditional love. And we said,
Mm-hmm.
ang swerte natin sa Dexcom, no? Because we get to help diabetic patients na hindi naman natin kilala. We don't know them, they're actually situated in different countries, but we take their
Mm-hmm.
calls. We help them. We help them use the technology. We help them use the gadget. We sometimes, depende sa gravity of their situation, we actually help save their lives. And we tell our employees na where can you find that kind of work, 'di ba? I'm sure may iba't iba, but in our case we just feel so blessed that we are given the
Right.
opportunity to do that kind of work and to show unconditional love because you're helping somebody you do not know and saving their
Right.
lives. And for
That's so
me, if that
fulfilling.
is it is very
Yeah.
fulfilling. And if that is finding meaning and finding value, then to me, that's
Mm-hmm.
spirituality. And we don't need to
Mm-hmm.
talk about it like, oh, ito is spirituality in the workplace, to, ganyan. Parang
Yeah.
hindi. Parang it's something that you feel and it's something that
Okay.
you use to energize and motivate yourself and inspire people around you.
Uh-huh. No, given that, no, kasi it's such a very strong intrinsic motivation, no, to do
True.
good, to be good. It makes you really feel good also afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
no, like an act of altruism. Um, Saan nanggagaling? Like, how do you equip your employees also to have this mindset, to have this parang bala, so to speak, para they can
Mm-hmm.
also give out this kind of unconditional love to people that they don't even know.
Sa amin consistent, honest communication.
Mm-hmm.
Consistently and constantly talking about our purpose in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
We also
Okay.
have programs that allows us to communicate the blessings, especially the last 12, 14 months, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
I think our organization, we're blessed because instead of reducing employees, we actually set up another site in Cebu. Right during
Wow.
pandemic, we
Mm-hmm.
actually hired about 500 employees that we've never met face to face, and now they're here, being
Mm-hmm.
participating in the accomplishment of our mission. So may constant journey of making people appreciate the blessings no matter how small. So that's one. Yun yung mga typical activities like your town halls, your meetings with the team.
Mm-hmm.
It's always injected with conversations around again the purpose. And we
Mm-hmm.
we we observe that people, when they are reminded that there's actually a better and a bigger source of fulfillment, somehow they nare-energize sila. But of course,
Mm-hmm.
as an organization, you need to complement and support those with other programs. And, we
Yeah.
also have formal programs, like we have formal programs on talent development, employee
Mm-hmm.
engagement, and also diversity, equity, and inclusion. In fact, one of the new things that we just launched Q1 this year is our employee resource groups. So these are
Okay.
like my interest groups, so that's existing. Those are like your hobbies. This year,
Mm-hmm.
we launched our employee resource groups. So these are people that, if you are, for example, we have a group, they're called people who are supporting relatives with Tourette syndrome. So
Okay.
they group together. We have the faith group. So ito naman yung iba-iba sila ng faith or religion, but they group themselves
Mm-hmm.
together because they want to understand and learn from one another and appreciate one
Oh
another.
wow.
Meron din kaming group who is actually into LGBT, right? So meron din kaming bago na group. It's all about our employees taking good care of their elderly parents or relatives. So
Mm-hmm.
all of those things, we allow our employees to be who they are, because the goal
Okay.
is you need to be comfortable. You need to feel psychologically safe to be who
All
you
right.
are, to be 100% you when you go to the office, regardless of your religious background, regardless of your family background, regardless of the uniqueness that you have. In fact, we celebrate that.
Mm-hmm. It's so beautiful. So
Mm-mm.
yung diverse, you call it diverse equity,
Diversity, equity, and
diversity.
inclusion. Yes.
Okay. So itong program na to, this was set up by Dexcom, and then how did you form like subgroups? Yung mga ano na yun, like LGBT, religious. Is it
Mm-mm. Yeah.
initiated by employees?
Yes, they are. In fact, the DNI, it's really not a concept introduced by Dexcom. I think
Oh,
many
okay.
companies are already doing it. In fact, I think in one of the PMAP sessions this week also, I heard a talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And yung mga employee
Mm-hmm.
resource groups, really, it's employee initiated. We also have a
Okay.
diversity council. So the Diversity
Uh-huh.
Council is the group of leaders who talk about how can we further the diversity in the organization. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe people are asking, sandali, spirituality, religiosity, but napunta sa diversity? I guess the meaning of this all is, nowadays, it doesn't matter kung ano yung religion that you believe in or you're a part of.
Right.
What's important is there's respect, there's acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
people embrace you for who you are. And again, sabi nga kanina, di ba ni Atty. Manny, for as long as you do your work, and if I may
Right.
add, for as long as you do good and you are kind to the people around you, then that's fine. Perfectly okay.
Wow. As long as, di ba, may mutual respect also, di ba?
Yeah.
Like, it
Mm,
has to be a common respect among on all the diversity, no?
correct. Yep. True.
Kasi
True.
it's given the number of diverse, the different kinds of employees we have, not just in
Mm,
terms of religion, beliefs, no? It's
yeah.
difficult really to establish harmony if wala talagang respect.
Mm. And if you look at it, John, 'di ba? Every religion, ang lagi lang naman tinuturo ng bawat reliyon is maging mabuting tao ka, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maging
Yeah.
mabuti ka sa kapwa mo, tumulong ka, share your blessings, be kind,
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
Yeah.
again, for me, I think that is the center of everything. We don't
Mm-hmm.
need to talk about saang religious affiliation tayo galing. But if we are
Right.
always doing the right thing, the good thing, and the kind thing, then that's
Mm-hmm.
it. We're neutral and we're the same.
Yeah. Um, Getting from that, you said you have a lot of different kinds of
Mm.
religion. No. I'm sure that since you're also BPO, no, you have certain days that do not allow for that downtime. How do you treat
Mm.
religious
Yes.
holidays like Holy Week, di ba?
Wa
Christmas, Ramadan?
Oo. Feeling ko ano, siguro nung mga unang panahon, unang panahon ng mga ng BPO industry, may ganyan
Uh-huh.
sigurong, um, perception. But the
Okay.
BPO industry here in the Philippines is now very, very mature. We have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of BPO companies who are actually doing a lot of best practices na minsan hindi lang naikukuwento sa industry, but they're doing a lot. Now, in our
Mm-hmm.
case, for example, hindi na totoo na, "Uy, because we are required to be 100% present all the time, sometimes our employees miss important gatherings." Not anymore
Uh-huh.
because we have workforce technology, workforce management technology that allows us to schedule and allows us to, rotate some of the shift
Mm-hmm.
schedules. In fact, in our case, our agents can even swap schedules. They can choose their own shift schedules. They can also choose depending on kailan mataas yung calls, then that's the time that they will go to work and things like that. So it's empowerment. It's allowing people, giving people transparency and visibility to what's coming, volume of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's giving people access to technology. That's the systems that we have. And again, empowering people to make those decisions. And that is, letting our employees choose the shift that they prefer and choose the shift that they want.
Nice. So it's very ano talaga no, very open, and I like that they have a choice. Like, you're really
Mm-mm.
giving your
Yep.
employees the power, and
Oo.
it's nice na. inclusive din talaga yung ano natin, yung environment.
Oh, and I think, the past 14 months, 'di ba, a lot
Mhm,
of yung mga religious programs, ceremonies, masses,
mhm,
virtual, right? So
right.
somehow it gives our people an added option to manage their time. So nakatulong 'yun
Mhm,
kasi they can also now do the responsibilities that they need to do according to their religious affiliations and backgrounds.
mhm.
Mm.
Miss Michelle, given that, di ba, during this ECQ period, maraming nagiging stressed, and there's also
Mm.
this rise in mental wellness, mental
Yes.
awareness. How
Mhm.
do you think spirituality, well, do you think spirituality will help address yung mga concerns on this aspect?
Ako, if not address the concerns, manage the people's emotions as they go
Mm-hmm.
through the challenges. Spirituality kasi I think is very, very connected to being mindful. So
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness is all about being aware, 'di ba? As an individual, awareness yan na paano mo bang hina-handle yung mga challenges? What is the good that you see behind the challenges? Ano yung mga silver
Yeah.
lining? How do you see, 'di ba yun yung sinasabi nila na, okay, count your blessings no matter how
Mm-hmm.
small, look at the
Mm-hmm.
cup half full, not half empty, be
Right.
optimistic, be hopeful. Yung mga yon I think has element of spirituality. And if the organization is able to remind people to have that kind of mindset and attitude, tas dagdagan pa natin yung lagi nating pinapaalala sa kanila na, bakit nga ba tayo nagtatrabaho? Is it because of salary? Is it because of performance? Or is it because our organization has a purpose? And in our case, again, it's all about empowering people with diabetes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, nakakatulong yun kasi somehow yung kanilang pag-iisip or yung mindset nila is being directed towards looking at the positive and the beautiful side of things.
Mm-hmm. Like for some companies naman, what if there are other companies that want to inject this sense of
Mm.
purpose
Mm.
or spirituality in
Yep.
their workplace? Because there are other companies also na hindi pa sila masyadong structured, right?
Mhm. Yep.
There are like especially yung mga smaller companies. Like how do they start? Is it a
Mm.
formal thing that they have to do, or like any um, program na lang, or any initiative
Oo.
can already count for that
Ex
spirituality?
if you are an OD practitioner, organization
Mm-hmm.
development, of course may mga interventions to do that
Mm-hmm.
formally. But you are correct, June. Not all organizations would have access to that kind of resources, or not all organizations would be big enough, 'di ba, to go through that kind of process. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of us are actually into small, sometimes micro businesses. Others are even family-owned organizations, which is also different, 'di ba? Ako ang
Right.
lagi kong na-observe because, in my many years of experience, naging part ako ng family corporation, naging part ako ng local organization, multinational,
Mm-hmm.
regional. Isa lang yung nakikita ko na very, very common. Even if the organization doesn't have a formal program to talk about the purpose of the
Mm-hmm.
organization, um, yung authenticity ng leaders, how
Okay.
leaders communicate to their employees, how leaders help their employees go through challenging times, how leaders address workplace issues with their employees kapag ka medyo merong hindi malinaw or hindi pagkakaunawaan, it matters a lot. And sometimes, it makes me wonder na parang, yun bang behavior ng leader ah, dictates the culture? And yung bang ganong klase ng culture, does it actually equate to spirituality or an organization that is actually very, very mindful of,
Mm-hmm.
one another? 'Di ba sabi nila in this time of pandemic, leaders should have three things, 'di ba? Lead with a vision, lead with direction, and lead with compassion. At yung
Mm-hmm.
huli, leading with compassion, I think, is the same as leading
The
spirituality in the
spiritual,
workplace.
yeah.
Yes. So sa akin siguro, if walang formal interventions to communicate or translate the purpose,
Hmm.
just be authentic, be compassionate, and always do the right thing and the good thing for your people.
Oh, I'm sure the employees will appreciate that as well, di ba? Kasi
Mm.
everyone knows kung ano naman yung sincere versus yung pretend lang, di ba?
Correct.
Parang just for show.
And especially nowadays, and again, I know a lot of our colleagues in PMAP.
Hmm.
Ano kasi tayo eh, we're a professional organization and we have this
Yeah.
discipline talaga of using uh, frameworks and interventions and tools, and that's
Hmm.
perfectly okay. That actually makes us very, very good at what we do. But nowadays, kahit ako minsan nagre-reflect eh, no amount of structured intervention um, will make it work if the employees doesn't feel that you care for them. Kasi iba yung
Hmm.
pinagdadaanan natin ngayon. People are
Yeah.
going through so much. In fact, I was just talking about uh, the new workplace, right?
Hmm.
Before, sabi natin, everything that happens inside the organization is the responsibility of the organization, and everything that happens outside
Yeah.
it is the employee's responsibility. Pero paano
Hmm.
na yun ngayon? We're all working from home. And therefore, the home becomes your organization, becomes your
Yeah.
workplace. Right? Hindi mo, ang hirap mo ngayong i-separate yung trabaho sa personal because everything is happening all at the same time, in the same space, in the same location. And
Hmm.
therefore, tayo as organizations, we need to again be very, very mindful that our people are actually now integrating, di ba? Life at home and life working, right? And that actually
Yes.
makes our responsibilities bigger kasi tayo, iba pa yung working in a Filipino home, right?
Hmm.
We have to remember that inside a Filipino home, nandiyan yung magulang mo, nandiyan yung asawa mo,
Right.
nandiyan yung mga anak mo, extended family
Magluluto
tayo,
ka pa.
and luluto ka pa, di ba? Ang dami, di ba? And you cannot say to the employees, I don't care. Ikaw lang ang empleyado namin, we will only care
Right.
about that won't work, right?
Uh-huh.
So again, I think this pandemic has actually redefined and forcing us to revisit, examine the way we lead our people and the way we
Hmm.
make our people become mindful and the way we make our leaders think about how can you lead with a vision, direction, and at the same time compassion. And again, for me, that's spirituality in the workplace.
Hmm. Thank you, Miss Michelle. Di ba, like in the current scenario nga, no, did you notice that most of the companies also have really um extended more leeway, no? Hindi sila
Mm,
mas masyadong strict. Like
yes,
they give leeway na, okay, sige, we know na during this time you have responsibilities. Like sometimes may online schooling yung kids, di ba? Minsan
yep,
nagiging mas understanding yung companies, no, rather than before very strict, or dati talagang attendance based, dapat 8 o'clock you're
mm,
at work already, but right
mm,
now nag-shift din no, into more outcomes based rather than
correct.
time based,
Correct,
right?
correct. And that is, I think, the new reality. Honestly, I don't think we will go back 100% to the way we were before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
In fact,
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, in my organization, we've already started to talk about the new workplace modes, right?
Okay.
We are already anticipating that when it is already safe and okay to
Mm-hmm.
go back on site, likely not everybody will go back on site because we've
Right.
already seen that some work can actually be delivered better or the same level
Right.
of performance when done in the office. And ang dami rin namang benefits working from home. Some of our
Right.
employees really appreciate the extra time na instead of spending it on commute, you get to
Mm-hmm. That's
spend it
true.
doing your hobbies or more time with the family or more me time,
Mm-hmm.
or self-development time, right? So we listen and we do recognize, and we again, as an organization, open to try and see how we can blend that in the new workplace that we will soon be having as soon as everything is okay. So yun yung talagang naiba, and again, sabi ko nga, para tayong ni-reset, 'di ba? And right now, we are in the process of examining our values, examining our mission, examining what kind of leaders we are, examining if the things we're doing are right, and if this is, the good thing to do. And lahat yon, I think, again, derives spirituality um, in us as leaders and as an organization.
Mhm. That's right. Miss Michelle, at this point, I just
Mhm.
have some questions
Sure.
sent in to us
Mhm.
now. So, what is the impact of DI on engagement of our employees and the business?
Hmm. Ang laki, 'di ba? Because engagement is such a big, big thing. And if
Mm-hmm.
you are the organization who actually embraces uniqueness and people being very, very special, then likely you will
Mm-hmm.
have varied programs that will help engage employees in your organization and even enable them, right? So basta you have that kind of culture, I think the possibilities are endless. And dahil nga siya endless and dahil ang dami-dami niya, in my observation, parang natural tendency is to empower people. In our case, for example, a lot of yung mga interest groups, engagement programs, diversity, equity, inclusion, they're not handled by HR. We actually formed employee representatives or minsan
Right.
ibang department, we'll let them handle it, we'll let them run it. As HR, ang role namin is just to make sure everything is aligned, that it is
Mm-hmm.
aligned to our values as an organization. And of course, provide support, budget, we give them budget. Or sometimes we equip them, di ba, with the competencies and skills. Like for example, we realized project management is a very important skill for
Right.
anyone who is doing employee engagement. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. So, support yung HR and we actually empower people kasi nga very diverse. And therefore, we cannot just, centralize everything in one department.
And it's nice also because instead of just focusing the work in human resources, parang nagkaroon ka ng extra hands, extra minds, no? Who do
Oo.
it for you.
Oo. And again, 'di ba, going back to spirituality or religiosity, 'di ba
Mm-mm.
yun din naman yung teachings. Yun din naman
Mm-hmm.
yung tinuturo sa atin that we have to work as one. We are one
Yeah.
community and we need to give people equal opportunities to contribute.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
We have another question. So thank you guys for your questions. Keep them coming. Okay, so here it goes. How do we deal with leaders who publicly pronounce support for the people, but whose actions are the opposite? Medyo mahirap
Okay.
yata to ha. Mm.
Ah, depende sa culture. Like for
Okay.
example, if the culture in your organization does not tolerate this kind of behavior,
Mm.
then unlikely that leaders in your organizations would behave this way. However, kung may nakakalusot, because people are very very aware of the culture, then I think having candid conversations is
Mm-hmm.
part of the culture, and therefore this leader who is actually acting opposite what the organization is promoting will likely receive feedback either from their own employees or from their peers or from their leaders, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
sa akin kasi, an organization who is truly and sincerely protecting the culture that they have would always embrace and promote honest conversations and open feedback
Right.
systems, right? Kasi yun din naman
Mm-hmm.
yung way mo to be reminded. Like for example, ako, not perfect, 'di ba? Tao tayo eh. Minsan
Mm-hmm.
we're under stress, minsan may problema, may
Yes.
pinagdadaanan, and sometimes we forget na, uy, hindi pala dapat gano'n, 'di ba? But
Right.
when people give you feedback and when the organization makes it safe for people to give feedback, then it's like you're supporting one another kasi pinapaalala mo kung ano yung tamang gawin. And I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
Thank you so much, Miss Michelle. We're almost out of time, so maybe can you give us like tips on how else can we have this spirituality in the workplace? How else can we promote this in our people?
Ako siguro ano lang, it's really more of, in this time of uncertainty and in this
Mm-hmm.
time of, very, very challenging environment, it's very important for us to do and find meaning in our work. It's very important for us to connect ourselves to a greater purpose, regardless of
Mhm.
our religious background, diba? It's very
Right.
important for us to sincerely take good care of one another. Hindi lang yung subordinates natin, hindi lang yung
Mhm.
customers natin, but really one another. And engage in very honest, authentic, and sincere conversations. I think
Mhm.
this pandemic that we continue to experience is a moment that matter not only in the history, di ba? But this is a moment that matter in humanity, and how we drive and how we manage this will define how the future of work will be for all of us. And I hope we will aim not to have religious or spiritual workplaces, but let's just have this goal and innate aim for us to give our employees great life experience through the work that they do by being good and being kind towards one another.
That's beautiful, Miss Michelle. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you to
And
Joan, and yeah, stay
as
safe.
always, I enjoy speaking with you. Thank you.